Welcome to For Those About to Brawl, the MMA and boxing podcast from Manchester, England. This show is brought to you by Den and by Chutney. And today's show is going to focus on all things news, previews, reviews, and everything we can think to talk about in the world of mixed martial arts and boxing. Chutney, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very well. I can see you, I can hear you, I can almost touch you. It's great. I won poker last night.
Yes. So tell me about poker. I believe you set a game up for everyone.
So it's a game that I set up and I won.
Wow.
It's on Poker Stars, and it's got quite a good system on there for how you play like online with your pals and Zoom on another screen or something. But it's complicated, and I tried to explain it, and I feel like I got the better end of the complications because I knew. I still bossed it though. I bossed it. I was really happy.
That because everyone was chirping in on the WhatsApp group about how to join and stuff. It's just like it sounded like real hard work, or just people being daft.
A little bit. It's after the first time you do it, you get it. I've done it a few times with other people.
Have you done it before? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've done it before. You've done it before. You invited people who've never done it before, and then you won.
Yeah.
That's fair enough, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many was there?
5 or 6.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Are you getting used to the world of virtual social interaction for the past 4 to 6 weeks? Now you've been in isolation.
I'm enjoying the lifestyle. Nice weather, dog walks, working from home. Don't have to go out and have fun all the time. A bit under pressure before having too much fun.
Saving money.
Growing beards.
Yeah.
We got complaints last time about our attire. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think it was complaints from far as field as Canada, wasn't it? Canadian complaints
across the pond, and so we both sorted ourselves out this week independently.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe this is the FTAB uniform from now on.
It's the first time I put a shirt on in about 6 weeks.
It's nice.
Like you've just been living in rugby shirts and t-shirts.
Yeah. So should we talk about sports, combat sports?
Well, maybe before we do, should we crack open our separate beers of the show?
Yeah, beer of the week.
Beer of the week, beer of the year. So what have you got with you today?
Name if you want.
We can do. It's just
What have you got, Den?
I've got a beer called Alf by a brewery called Marble in Manchester.
Oh, cool.
This is a 5.4% pale ale. Should be good. Looking forward to this.
Nice. A hazy pale. It's interesting you got that then, because that is exactly what I have. I also have a hazy pale going on here.
Nice.
Mine is Northern Monk, which is their Leeds, aren't they?
They are. Yeah.
And I had one of these last night actually, and it was one of those like 4 for 1 low price from the supermarket.
Yeah.
So it's cheap and nice, really nice.
That's their go-to beer for breaking into the market.
Yeah. So cheers.
Cheers.
So, I've also got.
I've
got the glass as well working today. So
nice.
Matching glass.
Stolen glass.
I didn't steal it, but yes, stolen. Oh, this is dirt in it.
Is it?
It's on the outside. I think it's on the outside. Yeah, it's on the outside. Looks like lipstick.
Oh, this is a collab with that Norwegian brewery, Amundsen.
Oh yeah, they're good then.
Very good. Yeah.
You've
been. What's your alcohol intake? Cheers. How's your alcohol intake been over the past 4 weeks?
High. It's been high.
Has it?
Yeah, and I think they've stopped doing as much recycling pickups. So I've got a lot of cans in my kitchen.
I noticed. Yeah, I just did my black bin today.
It's we're drinking a lot. I've got a Thursday night poker game going on. Been up to like 1 a.m. on a Thursday night, and then I've got a regular 9:30 meeting on a Friday morning on Zoom.
I must say, I'm quite impressed by the amount of Zoom calls and staying in touch with people, the stuff you're doing. You seem to be online a lot.
It's fun, isn't it? Easy.
It's easy enough. Sometimes I can't be asked, but
I know, you can't.
Just sat in front of a screen all day, mate. Sat in front of a screen all day, mate.
Yeah.
But we've all got something to look forward to now. after what Dana White has announced over the last couple of days, hasn't he?
Yeah. What's that?
So last time we were on the air, we were looking forward to UFC 249, and that was meant to be 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it didn't happen. It got binned off. The heads of ESPN said to Dana, "Please stop it." They were, I think, Disney were getting worried, weren't they, about the brand impact implications of them going ahead into some Indian reservation to have a cage fight. So it all got put on hold, and then this last Saturday, Dana White announced that UFC 249 is happening in Florida in 2 weeks' time, and the card is stacked, isn't it, Liam? Johnny.
It is stacked, and it is. Well, you know what? You said that to me recently, that it is stacked. And maybe there are lots of, or quite a few, big name fighters on there.
Yeah.
But when you really, when you really look at the card and you look for big names on there, where are they? Who are they?
Big names in terms of what, draws and pay-per-views?
Well, the original UFC 249. That had Khabib on it. Okay, yep. And he is certainly in terms of UFC, he's a superstar. In terms of world sports, he's quite a big star, isn't he?
He is, but in terms of him being replaced, if it wasn't going to be Conor, they've probably got one of the most well-known lightweights to replace him, haven't they?
Gaethje. Well, maybe in UFC terms, but outside MMA fans, who's heard of Justin Gaethje?
Well, I'm not sure outside of Conor and Khabib. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of any other lightweights.
But that's the point I'm making. They want Khabib was the A side, Tony Ferguson the B side. Tony Ferguson is now the A side, but he's not well known outside MMA circles. Justin Gaethje is the B side. He's not known at all outside MMA circles. So the main event on what is arguably a stacked card is not a big main event for me. So they're doing an interim lightweight championship for it.
I think that's a great main event, me.
Before, they had Amanda Nunes on it. Yeah. They had Rose Namajunas, former strawweight champ. Amanda Nunes is champ. Who else did they have on it? They had others, big names on there. They had 3 title fights, didn't they? From memory. Was it
Maybe.
2? They definitely had 2. I think they might have had 3, but definitely had 2 title fights. Now they have 1 interim, and Ngannou is arguably a contender.
So they've got 2 title fights, haven't they?
Now?
Yeah. They've got an interim and a full title. Henry Cejudo's fighting Dominic Cruz.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That's a fucking massive fight.
That is a big fight, but that was supposed to be Jose Aldo.
Yeah, but...
And Cruz has been out for, 3 years?
But probably Cruz is quite well known to the normal Joe Blog UFC viewer, because he's obviously on all the commentary programs, and he's quite well known for his media appearances. He spent most time behind the mic than he has in the cage, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah, he has.
I feel like you're disappointed about this card.
I'm not disappointed. I just don't think it's. I think on first look you think, wow, this is a big card, and then you look again and you think, oh, actually, is it really that impressive? But in fact, well, let's have a look at the card now. Just trying to find it.
Mate, you've got Fabricio Verdum's coming back, former heavyweight champion.
Yeah, when did he last fight?
About 2.5 years ago. Got done for drugs.
Oh, of course, yeah. He got knocked out by Volkov, March 18, Paddy's Day, 18, London. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, they headlined that event, and then he was done for drugs. And
you got Anthony Pettis on that card, a former lightweight champion.
Yeah, and I was a bit surprised to see both of them on it. So Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis are on the ESPN, headlining the ESPN card, the prelims, which is usually a big fight on there, or at least one big name on there. It's a good position to have. You get a lot of exposure. Cerrone, who's coming back quite quickly after a pretty brutal knockout.
That was January, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which isn't unlike him. And I'm almost disappointed in myself that I didn't predict him being on this card, doing whatever the bosses say and turning up when needed. And then Pettis, who's in somewhat of a similar position, having lost his last two and was submitted in his last fight against Carlos Diego Ferreira.
They're just looking for big names now. But
those
two, even if they were on 5-6 fight losing skids, I think people would still want them to watch them because they're so entertaining.
Well, if whoever loses that fight, their career is not going anywhere in terms of any kind of title contention in the future, I don't think.
No, even if whoever won it, did you say? Whoever lost it?
If they lost it, certainly.
Oh, yeah.
If they won it, maybe not either. Yeah.
Mate, you've got Carla Esparza fighting the karate hottie Michelle Waterson, former champion Esparza. Uriah Hall's fighting Ronaldo Souza. Yeah,
and these are pretty good fights.
I think it's the best card of the year, easily. Although we only have...
In terms of MMA fans like us, yes, very enjoyable, good matchups. Ngannou, Rosenstruck, that's going to be a banger. Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Kattar, two very talented fighters. Greg Hardy, don't really care. Cerrone and Pettis, that's going to be an amazing fight. I'm sure it will, and so on and so on. I agree, but this is a pay-per-view. They have to make 200,000 buys to break even on it. Well, that's back in the day anyway. They've got a different system with the ESPN Plus nowadays. But I'm not sure that they're going to do as well as they think, even though it's the only sport available right now, which isn't entirely true. Western sport, I guess.
I'm not sure though. If you're talking about fighters outside of the MMA bubble, who would bolster this card? There's probably only 5 fighters on the whole of the UFC roster that are outside of that bubble. Khabib, Conor, Jones. There's not that many, so it might just point to the lack of stars who are outside of it, who could burst that bubble. But I think from a pure sporting perspective, I think this is a great card.
I agree with that. I agree.
So, as you sort of mentioned earlier, Tony was due to fight Khabib. I think we spoke on the previous pod that we did that Khabib flew back to Russia, and obviously with the current issues throughout the world, couldn't get back and wouldn't be wanting to get back to fight anytime soon. And I believe it's Ramadan soon, so I think he'd be out of the picture until the next few months.
Ramadan Mubarak to our Muslim friends.
So Justin Gaethje stepped in. Tony actually made weight this past weekend, didn't he, when he was due to fight the first time?
He did. He's made himself the news, and I think he would tell you that he doesn't care about anything like that. But it certainly makes you wonder that because no one's talking about Khabib anymore, they're talking about him because the only sport that's been available to watch is Tony Ferguson trying to make weight for a fight that's not even happening, which he did 155 on weigh-in day, or what would have been.
And those types of things help get him in the public eye, don't they? So it might help the pay-per-view buys and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's fighting Justin Gaethje, who's so this fight has got all sorts of implications in terms of the top of the belt, the top of the tree, in terms of the belts for the interim lightweight title.
Well, exactly. It's the interim title fight, isn't it? Which is funny. The interim fight is the headliner, and the actual championship fight is the co-main event. Yeah.
What's your prediction for that fight? We'll probably do a full prediction show near the time. We've got nothing else to do with ourselves.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm thinking, can I reserve my right to change my mind then?
Kush can.
I'm thinking Ferguson decision at the moment.
Right. Okay.
I think I'll probably stick with that. Should we go through the card, in fact?
Cejudo, who's coming, he's on a great string of results at the moment. It's fighting Dominic Cruz, who hasn't fought for a long time for the title. How do you see that going?
Sorry, trying to find my notes on that. Yeah, I'm
You've made notes. Sweet.
Just for yeah, real pro. Just in terms of winners for this, I might even put a cheeky accumulator on.
We should do, yeah. Let's both do that.
I've got
See who comes out.
I've got Cruz on this. I think points again. I think he's going to move well, keep his distance. I think he's a good matchup for Cejudo. I think he'll have it. And what a story that will be if he comes back after so long and beats the champ Cejudo, or the former champ Cejudo.
He's coming again, up for 4 years for his last fight, I think, something ridiculous.
Well, not coming up, but it was 2016, but December 30th, when he lost to Garbrandt.
3.5 years almost.
The championship. So he's come back after, well, set call it 3.5 years, from a loss, but to be fair, championship fight, which he was defending, and straight into another championship fight. Well, yeah, they're just kind of trying to make a fight there. Which they're trying to do already with Aldo.
You get a text then?
Sorry, yeah, you get the vibration.
It's very unprofessional, mate. Our listeners will not be happy by this level of professionalism we're showing them.
WFH, mate.
On a Sunday?
Always, 24/7.
No, fair enough. Yeah, big fight that. Looking forward to it. I hope if there's any opportunity for Cejudo to ham it up over the next couple of weeks in terms of his character, I think it'd be great to see that. I know you're not a massive fan, are you?
Cejudo?
Yeah.
It's reasonably funny. It's just so cringeworthy, isn't it?
It's great. Absolutely great. So Gaethje and Ferguson, followed by Henry Cejudo and Dominic Cruz, and then we've got a big fight of the big men, which could have implications for the top of the tree. Who have you got here, Chutters?
Yes, it's the Big Men Championship, I think they're calling it. I have Rosenstruck on this.
Really?
Yeah, Rosenstruck, I think it's pronounced. I don't know if it was Struck, but I think it's Struck. We all saw what he did to Overeem, peeled off his face. It was one of the worst injuries I've ever seen in MMA.
I thought he was losing that though, wasn't he? The fight.
He was. Yeah, he was. Yeah. But he's been Arlovsky, Albini before. I mean, he's only 10 fights into his MMA career. Never mind UFC. Only 4 fights. This will be his 5th UFC fight, but undefeated. No doubt improved since then. I think he might have it, but it's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. What was that flash of there, Dennis?
That was the mug.
Oh, is that available to buy?
It can be. If any of our listeners want to get hold of it, personalised mugs with our faces on.
Just take a screenshot of that and go to a printer's. So can you put this on the mug, please?
I see Big Franny and Ngannou winning that fight.
Yeah, well, I reserve my right to change my mind on that.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's tough one, that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to call out on the Schneid card that you don't like?
That is unfair. That's unfair. That's not what I said.
I bet 2 weeks' time, this card is amazing.
I've got Calvin Kattar to beat Jeremy Stephens. I think Jeremy Stephens just can't keep his head. I think he's a very good fighter, just loses easily. And he's on a kind of a 3-fight skid there. And I guess Greg Hardy, because I don't know the other guy who really cares what Greg Hardy does. I mean, I could go on because they're all well-known fighters. Even the last fight, or the curtain opener, the curtain jerker. Ryan Spann, Sam Alvey. I mean, that promises to be a good fight as well.
Smiling Sam Alvey. Yeah, I like him.
I think he kicked off last time, didn't he? Was it an early stoppage? He thought. Yeah,
but I think he was losing though from memory.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst stoppage ever. Not the last one. Sorry, the one before he lost on points last time. So it is a good card. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's a pay-per-view, and I don't think
you don't think that's a pay-per-view caliber card.
I don't think it's stacked pay-per-view. There's no.
Whoa.
The poster just isn't going to be. Oh wow! Look at these 2 main events.
You're tripping. So let's have a look. What was UFC 248 off the top of my head? I can't remember. I'm going to check it. which work our way back, see what the last. That was a pretty decent 248. Had 2 title fights. Israel versus Romero. Romero was coming off two losses off that. And that was deemed to be a pay-per-view.
Yeah, there's also that was in New Zealand, wasn't it? Was it?
Was it? No, I think it was in Vegas.
Adesanya's a big star, though.
Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes, 247.
Yeah, Jones. And Reyes had a right to be at that fight.
And Justin Gaethje has, to be fair. He hasn't lost in ages.
Has he not lost in ages?
Like 3 fights ago. I think he's on a 3-fight winning roll.
True, he is, yeah. Lost 2 before that. But yeah.
Even if that lightweight belt fight wasn't on it, to have the Cruz versus Cejudo, that's a pay-per-view caliber fight.
It's not.
You're tripping, mate.
Not when Demetrius Johnson was always on fight nights.
Yeah, but that was different era, mate. Dominic Cruz, that's definitely a headliner UFC pay-per-view nowadays.
I suppose Dominic Cruz is better known for his TV work now, and that makes him big, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Cejudo with his Burger King shtick.
Oh, okay. What, you mean wearing the crown and stuff?
Yeah. I think this is a stacked card.
Well,
so
are you aware about the other 2 cards that are going to be?
That's what I was just about to move on to. So this fight's going to be scheduled in Florida, isn't it? Behind closed doors. Behind closed doors on Saturday, the 9th of May.
Yeah.
Followed 4 days later.
Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. Because the whoever makes a decision on there has decided that sports is an essential service, so they're allowed to crack on behind closed doors. Then 4 days later, in the same arena, behind closed doors, also Glover Teixeira is fighting Anthony Smith. UFC Fight Night with Ben Rothwell fighting OSP on that card as well. I don't think they're officially announced, but they're the 2 kind of big rumours for the card. And then 3 days after that, Alistair Overeem will be fighting Walt Harris in the same arena behind closed doors. So in the space of a week, there'll be 3 big events in the same arena. It's quite impressive from a logistical point of view if they can pull it off, regardless of the moral type issues that
I agree. Yeah.
But in terms of how they've managed to put it all together, you've got to admire that.
It would be interesting to see if they do manage to pull them together, because they've not yet, have they?
No. And that's one of the reasons I was a bit hesitant to go full steam ahead into predictions, because especially for the 249, because I think there will be dropouts. There always is normally, but especially in the current climate.
Well, they're all Americans.
Yeah.
Which makes it, well, almost all Americans, or all America-based, I think, which makes it easier to make sure that they all make it, and imagine they've put everything in place. So really, I guess it's just the usual stuff that would stop them. Mm-hmm. Other than perhaps someone close to them getting COVID, or they themselves getting COVID, I suppose.
Like Rose did, didn't she? Rose Namajunas had some family members who either fallen or passed away because of it. So.
More than one died.
2, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it?
So, yeah, I think so. So we'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time. We should do a predictions show on the Saturday and get together on the Sunday afternoon and do a review.
I think it's a really good idea. Yeah. So it's when 2 weeks yesterday. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I think. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
9th of May.
We'll be coming towards our end of lockdown. Well, the period that we're currently in, the lockdown will be coming to an end near then. So we'll see in the UK. So we'll see what measures will be put in place after that. That might be our last full weekend of lockdown.
Maybe.
You never know. Anything else from the world of MMA you want to discuss before we take our listeners through a bit of a history lesson?
Jon Jones has been at it again.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned him last week. What's he been up to since?
So the last time we talked about it was when he got pulled over after allegedly firing a gun from his car during lockdown. That is funny, you drinking from that mug of a picture.
I just realised that then.
Firing a gun from his car during lockdown, drunk, pulled over, clearly intoxicated from something, found a gun stashed down the back of his seat, bullet casing, and he managed to plead just to the drink driving. And, you know, it's Jon Jones, it's what he does. It's just another Jon Jones fuck up, move on. He goes on to defend it, saying, well, I've done all these good things in my life. I've seen his tweets. I don't know if you spotted them.
No, I haven't, no.
And I prefer to focus on those. So, well, no fuck.
Bet you do. I bet you do, yeah.
You do, because you seem to be ignoring all the fuck ups you're doing. And then he starts giving Anthony Smith, light heavyweight fighter, fought Jones, took him 5 rounds. It went 5 rounds. Yeah, Jones only does
they did, yeah.
Nowadays. The fight, I think it was, what did Jones do? Some kind of illegal shot to the head, a knee to the head when he's on the ground.
He was downed, wasn't he? Yeah.
To a downed opponent. Jones on Smith. Smith struggling, talking to the doctor, and he had an opportunity then. I'm not saying he should have done it, but he had the opportunity then to say to the doctor, I can't go on. And then he would have won the fight, would have become light heavyweight champion.
By disqualification.
Yeah, through disqualification of Jones. He didn't take it. He's a warrior. He went on for the full 5 rounds and he lost. And it was in some ways, a bit of a lackluster performance from him, but that aside. We move on. Don't have to worry about Anthony Smith anymore. Jones has got another opponent. Moving on with our lives. And then after this, during lockdown, Anthony Smith at home, 4 a.m, hears noises downstairs. He's got his wife there, he's got his 3 daughters, he's got his mother-in-law in the house. So he goes down to see what it is. There's a guy in there, takes a knife with him that his mother-in-law gave him. Don't know why she had a knife on her, but anyway. And finds the guy. I don't know what happened to the knife, but it took him 5 or 6 minutes to take the guy out.
Yeah, and he's a trained professional fighter.
And he's probably walking around at near 250 pounds at the moment.
Yeah, big boy, I'd imagine.
And he said, like, this wasn't a normal guy. I was punching him, I was kneeing him, I was
kept coming back or something, didn't he, like a zombie?
And he said it was the toughest night of his life. Really feel for the guy. Feel for the intruder as well, to be honest. I imagine he's not in great shape now. So Jones starts saying how irresponsible Anthony Smith was. And I think his main argument was because he didn't have a gun in the house and he should protect his family better.
Oh, right.
Now, this is just after Jones has been driving around New Mexico, pissed, shooting a gun out of his car. I mean, it's just so strange. What is he thinking when he says this? At the same time saying, I prefer to think about the good things I've done in my life, which kind of makes sense that he would be like that.
But it's the musings of someone who gets punched in the head for a living, though, isn't it?
Maybe. I mean, there's more than that with him, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There is more than that. But
he's not even been punched that many times.
No, that's true. Yeah,
maybe by Gustafsson. I was watching some reruns of the Reyes fight and some Luke Thomas breakdown of it. And these rounds where you see Reyes and he's throwing loads of punches, you think, Reyes is winning this round. Just not punching Jones, just not connecting. It's very hard to hit Jon Jones. Not saying that now that I think Reyes lost, but I think it's probably worth another watch.
I had Jones winning that, but only just.
Yeah.
So in this current climate, when there's not much when there's no live sport for us to dissect and to get into the guts of, we decided we'd do a little section of the show where we talk about something historic or some historic moments or fighters or events that shaped our viewing going forward and sort of our interest in the sport. Is that a fair reflection?
Yeah.
So, on that note, then, do you want to go first today and tell the listeners and the viewers of either an event, a fighter, or a card, or take the floor.
I will. Yeah, this week I would like to talk about bantamweight boxer Carlos Zarate.
Zarate.
Yeah, Zarate. Like the old, is he a Portsmouth player? I think he moved around a couple of clubs in the Premier League. Zarate. Everton, I think, maybe.
All right.
Remember? Anyway, Mexican, born 1951. He had an incredible record. 66-4, 4 losses, 66 wins, 63 KOs at bantamweight.
A bantamweight?
Bantamweight, 63 KOs. From his debut, he had a 23-fight knockout streak. Then he had a unanimous decision. Then he went on to a 26 knockout streak. I mean, this is, I don't know what the bantamweight division was like in the mid-70s or early 70s, but my God, what a record he had. And it culminated, many say, when he fought fellow Mexican Alfonso Zamora. Zamora was I think the WBA champ, and I think Zarate was a WBC champ.
Right.
The two organizations wouldn't agree on the event and also wanted a huge cut from the proceeds, so much so that it just made it impossible to include them. So California sanctioned the fight rather than the organizations, and it was a 10-rounder without a title on the line. But everyone saw it as that main event.
That's the main event.
Now, I've got a clip here, and I'm going to try and share my screen of this event. This might go wrong, but let's see. Can you see it there?
We can see it.
See YouTube. Okay, so you can probably see from the timing that it didn't go the full 10 rounds. But this is the second round, I think, and this is when Zarate is not doing as well as he hoped. He's kind of standing and banking with Zamora, which wasn't the right tactic for.
So just before you press play.
Yeah.
Who is who in
I'm
this?
Say that right.
All right, okay.
So they're both wearing red shorts, which is helpful. But Zarate has a white stripe down the side. But the reason I'm playing it at 1 minute 37, it doesn't really matter who's who because watch this. This is great.
A record of 28
okay,
wins,
so you got Zarate with the white stripe
28
there.
wins by knockout. Zarate, 46
slightly taller than the
wins,
other
no
guy.
losses. 45 of the 46 wins by knockout. A trivia quiz: who was the only fighter ever to go the distance with Carlos Zarate? Victor Ramirez. I don't think we know anymore, and we did before, did we? Amazing record.
Who's this guy? What's he wearing?
What's he doing?
So this guy jumps into the ring and have a look what he's wearing. Zooms in on him a bit. I don't know if that was normal clothes back then, in 1977. Look at him. And look at the police. Look what they do. Tie, like, properly tie him up. And chuck him out of the ring. It's like wrestling.
This cop just running out of nowhere. Unnecessary.
Okay, and then we move on to the fourth round. Not fourth round, it's the end of the third.
He has Alfonso Zamora in trouble and wants to try to finish him.
So they're just swinging both of them there. Knocks him down for the second time in the fight in the fourth round.
Just 25 seconds into round number 4. So Zamora down in the third round. Now down early in the fourth round. Zarate just measuring it. He's a no-hurry.
Zarate.
What an accurate puncher Zarate is.
Straight punches.
Zamora just nails Zarate in the right.
They just go wild. It's Mexicans.
Yeah. Camera going off in the background.
You get off those ropes.
Corners him. And he's gone. So his dad throws in the towel now. Look where it goes. Straight on his face when he's knocked out. Wet towel.
Cheers, Dad.
Waterboards him. And then his dad runs over to the other side and starts fighting him. And then this guy on the left.
And this guy, yeah, little.
His trousers like up to his nipples.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the trouser version of the shorts that other guy was wearing and jumped in. So that's it.
Nice, nice. You'll have to. We'll have to tweet out all the details of the where our viewers and listeners can watch his fights.
Yeah, so I'll put more details about that on there. Yeah, so incredible career. He actually took a 5-year layoff, retired basically, and then came back after that. And hold on, go back to my notes. Came back after a 5-year break, and this was a guy who just before he retired, he was fighting like 4 or 5 times a year, but they did that quite a bit back then. So he lost 1979, came back in 1986, and then he went on to win his next 11 fights, all by KO bar 2, after a 7-year break. Then lost 2 fights and retired.
Those fucking Mexicans.
Yeah, don't give a fuck.
Rough as fuck.
Yeah, last fight in 1988. So that is Carlos Zarate, Mexican, 1951, bantamweight champion.
That is a blast from the past, mate. You've done a lot of research to find out about that dude.
Yeah, spent a bit of work on that. It's interesting doing that, prepping for it, learning a bit about these guys you wouldn't know so much about otherwise.
Yeah, and you're going to be astounded by the amount of prep and research I've done as well.
Good.
You probably won't be.
No. Go on.
Well, maybe. So I wanted to think around MMA fighters, UK MMA fighters that probably are not particularly well known, didn't really get on the title, in the title picture, but were nevertheless really entertaining. So while I was thinking about this, this kind of group of fighters, it suddenly came into my head that I remember seeing one years and years ago live in Manchester. And as we were talking about historic fights and history of MMA, I found out that last Thursday date, which was the 21st of April, whatever it was, 13 years ago, was the first event I ever attended. And it was UFC 70 in Manchester. And it was a stacked card, loads of names that went on to be huge, big fighters. Mirko Cro Cop fought Gabriel Gonzaga in the heavyweight main event. And I remember, because I wasn't really a huge fan of UFC, MMA, didn't know what MMA was 13 years ago. But our friend and one of the original members of the podcast with myself and Chutney Israel took me along. He had spare tickets. And we were up in the gods, and it's like, oh God, the screens were, you could barely see anything.
I'm just having a look at the card now. Don't mind me interrupting, but great card. Look.
Yeah. Well, there's some future champions on there.
Shida, Congo.
Yeah.
So
we're, hey?
Terry Etim.
Yeah, Terry Etim was on it. Don't be letting the cat out of the bag who I'm going to talk about.
Sorry, mate.
Well, it's not him, so you're lucky. Yeah, put yourself on mute and only press space when you need to talk. Is that what you do?
My dog started walking about, and I'm getting worried she's going to start barking.
All right, fair enough. So we were up in the gods, and then we managed to get our tickets moved to down near the floor level, not exactly on floor level, but just a little layers up. And we were sat with the family of Michael Bisping, and then with Czech Congo's crew as well. I didn't know what the hell was going on, didn't know any of the names of any of these fighters. But I remember walking away from that event thinking, this is a sport that I really want to get involved with. Because of the Cro Cop knockout. Cro Cop got knocked out by Gabriel Gonzaga with a head kick, which was unheard of. Cro Cop's made a historic career out of knocking people out with his kicks, and he got knocked out, which was such a surprise. I remember that fight, and I also remember a fight by a UK fighter called Paul Taylor. So Paul Taylor was is a Brummie around that neck of the woods, and he was the first fight on the card, and he won by a TKO, which was a head kick from the bottom and then punches. Head kick standing and then punches, and it was absolutely vicious. And then every time the UFC came into England, Paul Taylor would often fight on the cards, and he didn't have a particularly great record, but he had some fantastic fights with the likes of Marcus, the Irish hand grenade Davis. He lost that fight, but it was an absolute beast of fight, back and forth. Rock Davis over and over again, and lost by submission armbar.
UFC 75.
And then he lost also to Paul Kelly, Scouse Paul Kelly, who's had his run-ins outside of UFC, no longer into mixed martial arts. But Paul Kelly beat him only just, and that was another fight of the night. And then he beat a lad that I remember seeing in London called Jesse Leodun, who's a French fella called the Joker. And he also fought another sort of gatekeeper of the division, Chris Lytle, in another fight tonight. So the lad he had probably 8 UFC fights in his career, and he was probably a 50-50 fighter at best. But he still won out of those 8 fights, 3 fights at night, and they were absolutely spectacular fights. Win, lose or draw, I thought he was great. And Paul Taylor was the first sort of fight that I thought, fucking hell, this sport is really entertaining. And then, and so he's one of the reasons that I sort of got into the sport, and I thought it'd be worthwhile our listeners checking out some of his fights, because he's definitely not one of the most well-known UK fighters. Got some dodgy tattoos, but he's definitely worth checking out on YouTube. I'm not as technically up to date with sharing screens and stuff, so I won't share anything on YouTube, but I might put it out on Twitter later.
What, can you pick out a fight? Maybe I can find it for us.
I think the best fight is probably the one he lost. One of the ones he lost versus Marcus Davis.
Okay, if you can keep talking, then
yeah.
I'll find it.
So I'll talk about UFC 70. So we're at UFC 70, right down the bottom. And Michael Bisping fought an Australian fighter called Elvis Sinicic. Great fight. Bisping was losing, came back and won. We found ourselves sat with Michael Bisping's family. I didn't have a clue who they were. His brother, I believe, was called, well, I can't remember his name, but his brother was very, very drunk. Conrad, that's it. Very, very drunk and a big, big boy. And we had to help Conrad over the barrier to go and see his brother, Michael, after the fight. And it was just a bit chaotic. And I thought, yeah, this is top. And I met Czech Congo. Czech Congo can be renowned as a bit of a boring fighter, but fucking hell, he is massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive. Have you managed to find any clips?
I have. It might just be the finish, so I will share my screen. Hopefully this will work. Say again?
Yeah, if not, I'll find it and put it on Twitter later. Wow. The Irish hand grenade. Oh, yeah, it was like a real come-from-behind victory. Oh. So Paul Taylor's got top position there.
Hammer fist after hammer fist from here. Just over and over and over again. And Eagle Bean was just hovering over them. Look at this, look at this. Oh, stop close. But he saw Marcus kept moving. Now here's the end of the fight. Marcus is pounding him with punches. Then watch this beautiful armbar. Look how he maintains control, holds that arm, hooks it, swings the hips over, extends, and then rolls over onto his belly.
Nice.
Really impressive victory by Marcus Davis. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's a great fighter, Paul Taylor. Like I said, bit 50-50 fighter. Lost probably more than he won overall in the UFC anyway. But great fighter.
Great, I enjoyed that.
Bit of a walk down memory lane for us both.
Yeah, I think this should be a regular segment, maybe.
Why not? And our listeners could tell us what they'd like us to talk about in future episodes. I'm sure we'd be willing to listen to any sensible suggestions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a great idea.
You can definitely tell this can was 5.6%.
Ha! You feeling it?
I'm all right, mate.
What's this? This is 5.4. I should be all right.
You can deal with it, mate. Guys.
Delicious. This really nice. How's yours?
Yeah, really good. Marble Brewery are very good in Manchester.
Yeah,
shout out to the breweries in the northwest.
I go to actually.
They're good. Check them out, mate.
Yes, I certainly would get it for you.
Are you managing to get hold of alcohol stocks relatively easily?
Very easily. We have a delivery guy that we both use. Place across the road's pretty good. Neighbour got some delivered, gave me a good few of those.
Yeah.
Well.
There's a bottle shop up the road from me that I often go into every so often. And obviously he's doing home deliveries now as well as our other mutual friend that knows that does it. And I said to him last night, I said, how's business? He said, it's never been better. He said, he's absolutely making a killing because so many pubs are shut. Well, all the pubs are shut, so.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Is there anything we want to share with our listeners before we hit the road?
Just look after yourselves. We have got a bit of sport coming up. Might not be the most sensible thing to be holding this event, but they are, so we might as well enjoy it. Do enjoy it, and we'll be there to preview and review, hopefully.
Yeah, so in a fortnight's time, we'll do a preview and a review. We'll review, and we'll go from there.
We'll be putting more posts on our Twitter at FTAB News. I've been trying to give a bit of info about different fighters and fights on there. More mini history lessons. You can email us at ftabpod@hotmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at Chutney News. Find Den at Braemar Soldier. That's BRAEMAR Soldier. And our YouTube. We'll be putting this on YouTube for those about to brawl. And that's about it, I think.
Yep. So listeners, viewers, stay safe.
Yeah, like, subscribe, share, all of that.
Yep.
Review, 5 stars preferably. Yeah, sorry, Dan.
No, 5 stars all the way. Get us to the top of that charts. And then we'll be able to do even more great content. So, Yep. Stay safe, listeners, viewers. I think the only thing to say is for those about to brawl, we salute you.
My man.
Boom.
I'm ending the meeting. Press the wrong button. Imagine.